They're against a shutdown, but if they vote against this bill, we know they're really for a shutdown.
The Federal Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism announced it is visiting 10 universities that have incidents of anti-Israel hate since October 2023. Leader of the task force, senior counsel to the Assistant Attorney General, Leo Terrell, laying out his plans to force colleges to comply.
I am telling those 10 schools, we're going to use every tool in the AG's toolbox to go after you, to make you treat Jewish American students fairly and equally and eliminate anti-Semitism.
Meanwhile, a Jewish figure and news leader says things look bleak for Columbia University.
Federal immigration authorities arrested a Palestinian activist over the weekend who were told played a prominent part in protests against Israel at the university. His name is Mahmoud Khalil. He was a graduate student until this past December. Federal authorities entered his university-owned apartment and placed him under arrest. AFN talked with Campus Reform's Zachary Marshall.
I think Columbia University is a house of cards, and it's about to fall, and it deserves to. We are seeing that the arrest that just happened on Sunday is going to be the first of many, as President Trump has promised. And I do expect the Trump administration to follow through on that promise, because Columbia is where the tent encampment protests started last year, and it is a hotbed of radical terrorism that has yet to be quelled.
ICE agents say they were acting on orders from the State Department to revoke Khalil's student visa. Campus Reform reports he was in the U.S. as a permanent resident with a green card. This is the first publicly known deportation effort that's part of President Trump's promised action against students who took part in anti-Semitic protests that picked up across college campuses since the October 7th of 2023 terror attack in Israel.
And so I think we're going to see more arrests and more exposure of what the faculty has been complicit in, too.
I'm Bronson Woodruff.
The Department of Government Efficiency continues to look for ways to eliminate wasteful government spending. Elon Musk talks about the biggest source of waste and fraud.
Well, we just basically follow the money. We look at the president's executive orders, and we also just follow the money. So we started looking closely at USAID because they were completely violating the president's executive orders to suspend foreign aid. What's called foreign aid, but in our view is a lot of corruption. So what we saw there is just a tremendous amount of money being sent to non-governmental organizations. But actually, this, by the way, is, I think, one of the biggest sources of fraud in the world, is government-funded non-governmental organizations.
President Trump has been talking a lot about school choice, and one of the biggest opposition groups is the Teachers Union. Teachers Union President Randy Weingarten said the quiet part out loud. She doesn't want money going away from the government schools establishment.
We know, for example, what Texas would do.
Right.
They'll use it for vouchers. So they
Yeah.
won't give it to the kids who have it now. They'll just give it for vouchers.
Catholic schools,
And,
religious
well,
schools.
And frankly, what we're seeing in all the programs that are now extant in terms of vouchers, they don't work for kids. They basically go right now. It becomes a tax credit for people who already are sending their kids to private schools. So it's income redistribution.
Fox and Friends co-host Lawrence Jones says what Weingarten said is absolutely false. She just doesn't want to lose control of the money.
They need to stop lying about what charter schools are. First of all, charter schools are public schools, right? And it's not a bunch of rich people that are taking advantage of it. It is the minority community, poor communities of all different racial backgrounds that just want their kids a shot, a fair shot. Their schools are failing in their neighborhood, and you're telling these kids that they have to continue to go to this neighborhood. It's not fair.
More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Peter.
The feature-length documentary Culture Warrior, Don Wildman and the Battle for Decency, premiering November 11th, chronicles the life and ministry of Don Wildman. It takes you through the founding of the National Federation for Decency, what has become AFA. It's a call to stand firm for righteousness and shows how that resolve can make a huge difference in our world.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Find out more and watch the trailer at culturewarrior.movie.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Tuesday, March the 11th, 2025. And thanks for listening to American Family Radio. Joining me in studio is Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning. Have we yet figured out who is in here before me? Because sometimes these chairs all the way to the floor.
Oh, the chairs?
Yeah.
There you go.
I just want to know who's in here before
Well, we have
me.
adjustable chairs in our studio, yes, and sometimes they're lowered to the floor. I don't know who did that to you. They must be trying to humble you, though.
I know. It happens.
Hey, Fred Jackson, good morning.
Good morning. I'm in the high chair.
Yes,
I feel young.
Ray Pritchard, good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Tim. How you doing today?
Doing well. Sorry I missed the show prep meeting this morning. I went to the doctor and he gave me a shot. So,
are you feeling better since the shot?
I think so.
He's beefing up. They gave him a steroid.
Yeah, it was a steroid.
Nice. You're going to be flying high before the end of the program.
Well, I like a lot of people right now, I don't know if it's allergies because the pollen or it's that sniffles, nasal stuff.
Well, in
the
Mississippi.
spring gunk.
Yeah. It's it won't go away.
Well, one day it's 35 and windy, and the next day it's 70. I think they're changing temperature.
It could be. But whatever it was, I said, you're going to have to give me something. And
fix this.
So I went to the doctor. I know nobody cares about this, but I'll share it with you anyway. Yesterday afternoon, and so I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkey. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, sir.
No more monkeys jumping on the bed. No, I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, I can give you this shot, and it'll help you. It's a steroid, but you're going to be up all night. And I said, what? I said, I don't want to be up all night. I think I got to drive to Birmingham this afternoon. I said, I don't want to be up all night and then crash tomorrow. I don't have a good record on highways and falling asleep as it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point. That's a good point.
So I said, no, I skip it. I'll come back in the morning, talking about this morning. Said, we'll be here at 8 o'clock and we'll fix you up. So I went in and they took care of me, gave me a shot. So I don't know what it's going to do. Fred,
We're going to monitor you.
That's right. We're going to be watching you very closely.
Well, I said, what did you just put in me? She said, I said, okay, all right. Well, we do trust.
Yes.
You got to trust doctors. Don't you?
Well, and we were joking this morning that when many of us, I know for me, when I was 10, 11, 12, and I had strep and they had to give me a steroid shot, the first time they said that, I had a lot of questions. I was playing sports at the time.
Right.
But then, of course,
what is this going to do to me?
That's right.
Okay.
What if I get tested?
It's going to make me hit the ball further. I'm all for it.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, all right, Ray, give us a good word from the Bible this morning. If you
all right, this Bible quiz time for you guys. All right, Bible quiz time. Can you name the only two men in the Bible who were literally said of them, they walked with God? Only two men in the Bible were said to have literally walked with God, and they're back to back, one chapter and the other, one in the next chapter.
I'll guess Ezekiel, Daniel.
That's a really, really good guess.
But it's wrong.
Not what I'm looking for.
I'm gonna guess Abraham's one.
Okay, he was called a friend of God, right? And God said, "Walk before me."
All right, all right. Fred swung and missed. Tim swung and missed. Wesley, what do you got for us? Come on, you got to get it.
Yes, one of them. No, one of them starts with an N. Not
okay.
an M.
All right.
It wasn't Nebuchadnezzar.
No,
no. Well, I was thinking I know this is not right, but it's just for point of conversation. My mind went to the Transfiguration. But that's not okay. I don't think that's going to be what you're talking. You're talking Old Testament.
Exactly. Go all the way back. I'm going to give you the book. See if you get both of them in the book of Genesis. They show up. The only two guys who were actually said to have walked with God show up. Oh, I'm going to give it to you closer. In the first 11 chapters of the Bible.
Well, it's got to be Noah.
One's got to be Noah. Who's the other one? He walked with God and he was not because God took him.
Oh. Opened a whirlwind.
Yeah. Elijah.
Elijah's First Kings. Genesis 5 is Enoch.
Enoch.
Remember?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. If I ask you, name the only two people in the Bible who never died. One was Elijah, and the other was Enoch. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
gotcha.
I've been thinking about this. I'm preaching on those chapters in a couple of weeks down in Florida on Genesis 4, 5, and 6, kind of overlooked chapters of the Bible, and thinking about Enoch. It was said that Enoch walked with God, and we have to add, by faith, Enoch walked with God, and he was not, because he did not see death. Hebrews adds he did not see death. God took him home. What does it mean to walk with God? I'm just going to give 3 suggestions. You could probably give 20. 3 suggestions. It means to get up in the morning and say, Lord, wherever you lead me today, I will go with you. It means in the surprises of the day, thank you, Lord, because I still want to walk with you. And when you get to the end of the day, it's thanking the Lord for the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, the positive, and the negative, because it was God who led you all the way through this day. And guys and ladies and gentlemen, listeners to AFR, let me say to you, walking with God is not about going to church, though we are 1,000% in favor of going to church. It's not even about reading your Bible, though we're 10,000% in favor of reading the Bible. Walking with God starts in your heart. Starts in your heart. When every day you say, Lord, it's a brand new day. I want to live for you today. I want to walk with you today. So lead me, Lord. I'll walk together with you where you are going. And if you approach every day with that attitude, you'll be able to lay your head down on your pillow at night and say, Lord, there have been some difficult moments, but to the best of my ability, you walked with me and I walked with you. And I thank you for this day. This is the key to happiness and blessing. And the Bible says Enoch did it by faith. So, friends, let's just make the decision that today we're going to walk with God wherever he leads. If we do that, we'll be happy when we lay our head down on the pillow and go to sleep tonight.
A common Bible verse that goes with that is choose this day whom you will serve.
It's exactly the same idea, isn't it, Wes?
That's right.
Exactly.
Choose this day. Amen.
Yeah, you get up every morning and say, who, I'm going to serve God today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get closer to God today.
Yep. Amen.
Amen. All right, Fred, what is our first worldly story?
Okay. Moments ago on his Truth social media, President Donald Trump announced that he's increasing the tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum to 50%, from 25% to 50%. Here's the reason why. He is not happy with the Premier of Ontario, Canada. The Premier of Ontario, Canada announced yesterday, his name is Doug Ford, that he is placing a 25% tariff on the electricity that his province sends to Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. So if anybody thought there was, remember, Trump has talked about waiting for about a month or so to see how things go. Maybe they can work out a deal. Well, this morning, that all fell apart. And we know what has happened with the stock market in the last 2 or 3 days. The stock market has gone down hundreds of points, the Dow Jones. And I expect we're starting to see already, I believe, some negativity in the stock market based on what the president has just announced.
50%.
Whoa.
On what now? What kind of products? Steel and aluminum?
Steel and aluminum.
That's like almost everything, right?
Yeah, that's a big portion.
Did he put a timeline on this? Or is there until such and such?
I think the timeline is back off, Premier of Ontario.
Okay. So whenever he gets a response from him, okay, we can look to see.
Yep.
Okay, Fred, I got a further question because I'm looking at this as soon as you said it, this same Truth Social post. He says Canada must immediately drop their anti-American farmer tariff of 250% to 390% on U.S. dairy products.
Yeah.
Is that true? Is that really what Canada's doing?
That goes back to the original concerns have voiced by the president that there is a great trade imbalance caused by agricultural products coming in from the United States into Canada. So, yeah, this is all part of it. But this Truth Social note this morning is based on what Premier Ford of Ontario did in the last 24 hours.
You think he ran that by anybody, Dad, or you think he just sent the
Trump
post out? Yeah.
Trump doesn't run much of anything by anybody. I don't think. Now, I say that he does listen to people.
Sure.
He has advisors and behind the scenes, but he on this tariffs, I think he's going with his gut, and that's my opinion. And I think it's very risky. As I've said, he may prove to be right down the road that it's a financial boom for our country, but right now one of the reasons the stock market's diving is because of all the tariff talk.
Yes.
And so we'll see what happens there. Again, President Trump, as I've always agreed, he has pretty good political instincts.
Mm-hmm.
But he's walking on a high wire.
Well, out of all the issues though that he's responsible for, do you think though that this is an area of more of an expertise for him as far as economy and as far as business dealings and things
I do.
like that?
I think he thinks thinks he can out tariff Mexico and China and Canada and make them cry uncle. That's what he believes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, beyond that, you're getting. I'm just going to tell you, I don't know enough to comment.
Right.
Except that when you start raising, I know that tariffs are basically a tax on the producer in a country of a product. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Which means if that stays in place, the cost of those products into the United States is going to be sky high. And if those products are necessities of life for us here, like steel and aluminum maybe, and we get a lot of that from Canada, then the prices of your Coke can's going to go up. Your prices of you know what I'm saying? Now, I think Trump thinks, well, I can make these countries bend the knee if I just keep raising the tariffs high enough. So, hey, Fred, any thoughts on that before we leave that topic here?
No, you're exactly right. What Trump is hoping, is basing these moves on, is that these countries will bend. He believes that they depend more on our products than we do on their products.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Right. All right. Next topic.
Next topic, ICE was very busy in the Houston, Texas area last week. They arrested 646 people illegally in the country, and 543 of those already have charges against them. Let me just read through the list here. 140 of those charged or convicted of aggregated felonies or violent offenses, including homicide, aggravated assault, domestic violence. 34 of them charged or convicted of sex offenses or child sex offenses. 38 people convicted of illegal firearms offenses. 52 charged or convicted of narcotics offenses. 51 people charged or convicted of property crimes. 93 people charged or convicted of driving while intoxicated.
Are all these, I'm assuming all these are from different locations as far as where they immigrate or where they
came from.
Where they came from?
But they all came across the border and have been living in Houston, Texas.
Okay, so then the next step, they've rounded them up. I guess at this point, they send them on a bus or a plane, or how have they been?
Ship them out.
Ship them out?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I don't know about you.
Not literally a ship. I don't think, right, Fred?
No, shipping them out by plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way they've been going.
Deport them to their home country.
But that's just one city in 1 week.
My first reaction when I read that story, and there's another story that you sent around, Dad, about the border crossings down 99%.
Oh, yeah.
But when border crossing being down was very, I'm pumped. I'm excited about that. But there's on this topic, there's very little that's more satisfying to me than to hear that they've actually arrested or detained illegal immigrants and are now sending them back. I mean that just for the history of America moving forward, the damage that will already take place because of what Biden did by opening up the borders. Now that we're doing something about it, I actually feel like there's something to be salvaged, because most of the impact that's going to come from the 20 million people that came across, or whatever the number is, it varies depending on what site you look at. Between 15 and 20 million came across the border under Biden's administration, and the ripple effect, long-term effect of that, we were going to see much further down the road than more so than immediate. That's with nobody doing anything about it. But now with Tom Homan and Pete Hegseth and the Trump administration actually doing something about this, I actually feel like there's something we can salvage something out of this. And those stories are very satisfying. You said 600 and what?
646 in 1 week in one city.
In one city, in 1 week.
Also, didn't want the note that you mentioned earlier that I sent around last night. The report was that the illegal border crossings are stopped. They just stopped.
It's the lowest. In fact, it said in the story that it's the lowest number of crossings since COVID, when they shut the border down.
Yeah.
408 in the month of February. It's what that story said.
Yeah. You're listening to, one of the best comments that President Trump had in his speech to the Congress last week, Ray, was when he said, as it turns out, we didn't need a new law to stop illegal immigration. We just needed a new president.
That might have been his best line of the whole speech.
Yeah.
The speech was great, right?
Yeah.
Tremendous speech, but that might have been the best line.
I think
we
so.
didn't need a bunch of new laws. We just needed a new president.
Yeah.
And it took him, what, a month to make it happen. And it's so did you say in February 400 and something illegal crossings in a month?
In 1 month.
That's
crazy. As opposed to thousands under
Right.
Joe Biden.
It shows that Biden could have stopped it if he wanted to. He didn't want to stop it.
No.
This is one of Trump's. He ran on this, and he has delivered early.
All right, I'm going to say something that people may say, well, can you prove that? Well, no, I can't prove it, but I'll tell you what I think, and I've mentioned this before. I think the goal of the Democrat Party, the reason Biden opened the floodgates and said everybody gets to come in. Now, he wouldn't have said it like that, but the reason he opened up the floodgates and said, and millions came into our country illegally during his administration, is because, I know it's going to sound sinister, is because the Democrats they think borders are immoral. Okay, they don't like borders. They're globalist.
Yes.
They don't, and they want to see as many people come here. Then they want to make them legal citizens, so that they'll vote Democrat.
Yeah. Yes.
See how this works?
Yeah.
And so you let them in by the millions, and then they have children, and then you make them citizens. You'll start hearing a legal path to citizenship. You'll hear that a lot. Well, and then they are beholden, these people are, to the people who let them into the country.
Especially if they get them on welfare and socialized programs.
That's the reason. The reason that Biden and the Democrats wanted to let our country be flooded was because they want them to vote Democrat.
Yeah.
And therefore end the Republican Party as we know it.
And they don't believe, and I'm going to play some clip here of Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
Okay.
She's a Democrat, represents the Dallas area.
Okay.
She has come out and said entering the U.S. illegally is not a crime. Cut 2.
They continue to say things like the illegals and that they broke the law coming in. But what they're not telling the American people is that it is a civil violation. It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime, which is why They're so frustrated because they really want our local law enforcement to go out and round up people when they could be looking out for the murderers and the sexual abusers as well as the robbers. They want them to go and round people up on civil accusations.
I don't think that's true.
No, and
at all.
To your point, improper entry into the United States is considered a federal misdemeanor crime in violation of 8 U.S.C. 1325, punishable by fines and up to 6 months in jail for first-time offenders. Repeat offenders, you go to prison for a long time.
See the attitude.
I think she knows that, though.
You see the attitude she expressed, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That's what I was.
Her attitude was, I don't care if they come here illegally. It's not a crime.
That's right.
That's the attitude of the Democrats.
That's right.
Yeah.
And furthermore, I don't know anywhere in the country where sheriff's departments or police departments are, quote, rounding them up just because people are here illegally. I think they're wanting to stop the criminal element there, but and that's what ICE is going after.
That's the first step.
The criminal element, people who are committing violent crimes in particular, and but she seems to take a very flippant attitude towards the whole.
Well, and also too, like most.
Who was she? Who was that we were listening to?
Jasmine Crockett. She's Democratic Congresswoman from the Dallas area.
Okay, go ahead, Wes.
And like most Democrats on this topic, she acts like you can't do two things at one time. I mean, obviously, they're not turning a blind eye to American citizens who are committing crimes as well. In fact, that's the whole purpose of ICE.
Right.
ICE is designated for this subject, and that's what they're focusing on. So for her to say, they're trying to take all their resources and focus on rounding people up that came here illegally while also turning a blind eye to America. That's
a real crime.
Nobody's doing that.
No, that's true.
That's happening both ways.
No. I know. All right, let's take our break a little early here, and we'll be back with more of.
The steroid didn't work for you? Getting tired?
I don't know. Is it? I don't know. I hadn't.
Nothing.
I hadn't felt anything yet.
All right. We were just expecting you to come in here like you
wired.
Like Mountain Dew.
Wall to wall, bouncing off the ceiling. Yeah. That may happen.
It may kick in.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. But we will return with more of today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. Fred, Tim, Wesley, and Ray. We're going to be joined momentarily by Dr. Walter Wendler. He's the president of West Texas A&M University, and a lot more topics to cover here on the program. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
There seems to be a vast swing toward the letter of the law and away from the spirit of law in our society. People are more intent toward making sure that the law has been met legally than they are if the law has been met morally. I guess the deciding factor is that if one meets the law legally, then he cannot be punished, while failing to meet the law morally doesn't bring court action. A pretty good illustration of this happened in Memphis, Tennessee, some time ago. Willie Burton left home one morning to see an old, dirty, worn-out 1958 Dodge parked in front of his house. When he returned home from work late that evening, he noticed that the car was still there. And because it was nearly blocking his driveway, Mr. Burton called police. The police told Mr. Burton that according to law, it was not sitting near enough to his driveway for them to ticket it. Mr. Burton then asked the police to move the car because he was afraid one of his 2 children might dart from behind the car and be struck by another automobile. But he was told by police that, according to the law, the car had to sit there for 5 days before it could be towed away. Mr. Burton was certain that the car had been abandoned, but he could not get it moved because of legal technicalities. The law set up to deal with the problem made the problem impossible to deal with. You know, there are several things like that in our world. Take the church, for instance. It's very easy to become a member of most local churches, But because of technicalities set up to protect one's relationship with the church, it's nearly impossible to keep an honest membership of the roll. Most rules concerning membership in the church are set up to protect the membership and to make it meaningful. However, we have completely forgotten the spirit of those rules and have taken them legally. So if a person's name is on the church roll, he is legally a member of the church even if he hasn't been in 20 years or given a dime during that time. The spirit of the rule, that the member be an asset to the church and to himself, is never taken into consideration. Only the legality of the rule. And legally, they're still members, but morally and spiritually, they're not. You know, this type of dealing with things has a very deadening effect on people. It can destroy the very thing we set out to protect. If you don't believe it, ask Willie Burton. The car sat in front of his house for 5 days, like the law said. But on the third day, Lisa Gale Burton, age 4, darted out from the car and was struck by another automobile. She was pronounced dead at the hospital. More important than the letter of the law is the spirit of the law, and the method in which we approach it often is a matter of life and death, spiritually as well as physically.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
8 Days of Hope is supported by a combination of donations from listeners and business partners like Provia. Provia is a manufacturer of residential doors, windows, siding, stone, and metal roofing. Provia is committed to serving their customers and sharing Christ in order to let our light shine before others so they may see our good works and give glory to our Father who is in heaven. More about Provia and their products at provia.com.
In him we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of his will. Ephesians 1, verse 11.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back to Today's Issues. That's the name of this show on the American Family Radio Network. I'm Tim with Wesley and Fred and Ray, and we hope you're having a nice day. There are multiple ways you can watch this show and or listen to the show. Obviously, we podcast, so if you missed Today's Issues, you can just go to our podcast, afr.net, afr.net, the website, and then you'll see the podcast. Click on podcast, and you can download it in seconds and listen to Today's Issues or any of our shows here on American Family Radio. We also video stream on YouTube. Just type in Today's Issues, and then Facebook, and then we also have it on X, and also our own. Wesley, what's our own video streaming service if people want to watch the show there?
It's stream.afa.net.
Not screen.
No, you can scream, but if you
you scream at the screen, people won't know what's wrong with you, though.
That's right, especially if you're at work and you just start randomly screaming. So if you try that, it's not going to work. What you need to do is type in stream, STREAM, stream.afa.net, stream.afa.net. There you can. I don't know why anybody want to watch us, but you can.
Well, people do, though.
They do.
People tell me they watch us on YouTube and all over. And so, all right, a lot to talk about. More on the program today. We got many more topics to cover. Joining us right now, as he does every couple of months, is Dr. Walter Wendler, president of West Texas A&M University, which is located in, where, Wesley?
Texas.
Yeah, well, that's right, but West Texas.
West Texas,
Yeah.
That's right. There you go. Yeah.
Good morning, Dr. Wendler.
Good morning, Tim. Good morning.
Every time I think of
Good
West
to be
Texas,
here.
every time I think of West Texas, I think of that Marty Robbins song. Remember that song? You know what I'm talking about?
Here we go
Yeah,
again.
I
This
do.
is
I
where I
can't-
tune
I'm
out
not gonna
and get on
sing
my
it.
phone.
No. Ray, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. But what's the name of it?
Dr. Wendler, you know what I'm talking about?
I do, but I can't say the name of it, and I'm not going to sing because you guys will start screaming.
You're probably right.
Out of the West.
Out in the West Texas town of El Paso. Remember that?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Wendler's not quite that far west.
That's right.
But
No.
You're in the Amarillo. You're in the Amarillo area, right?
Absolutely. That's where we are. That's where we are, in the great city of Amarillo in the Texas Panhandle.
How long have you been at West Texas A&M University?
Well, I'm bucking the national odds. I've been here 9 years. I'm in my 9th year, and I've never held a job this long. As a matter of fact, if you looked at my resume, you'd say this guy can't keep a job. And there is some truth in that. But the bottom line is, I've been here 9 years, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's a great place to be. It's real American values up here, and people. It's a good place to be.
Yeah,
9 years.
Now you are part of the Texas A&M University system in the state of Texas, right?
That's correct.
Right.
There's 10 universities, and actually now I'm the longest serving CEO at any of the universities.
How have you made it?
So
how have you made it this long, being a conservative?
It's funny. I don't know exactly how. I think it's by being honest about who I am and true to myself and true to my Savior. There's something about that works here in West Texas. It doesn't work everywhere else. I'm not sure if it works all that well in Los Angeles or other places or New York, but it works here.
How many students do you guys have there?
About 9,200.
Wow.
So we're almost 10,000. So it's not a small school. It's it fits the definition of being mid-sized.
Yeah.
From universities around the country, but it is completely atypical, I think, of universities. We're in one of the most conservative parts of the state and in the United States. As a matter of fact, in the 21st century, in the presidential elections in the 21st century, so 04, 8, 12, 16, 20, and now 24, we have consistently in Randall County, where we're located, voted more conservatively, where conservative equals Republican, and you guys know that's not always the case, but where conservative equals Republican, we're almost 83% on the Republican side of the ticket, so we're very conservative.
Right.
And I'm not shy about telling people that because it's where we live, it's where we are, and it's the people that come to school here.
Tell us about you got something called the Hill Institute. What is that?
Okay, that's a newly established institute. We've been doing fundraising. We've raised about $23 million so far. Haven't done anything. We're still working on a board of directors. And the next time I'm on, I'll be able to talk to you about this board, and it will be you'll take note because we have very, very prominent people on this board. And what we're trying to do is promote conservative values that, people of this strain of thinking believe are important. Things like trust and family life, hard work, regard for others, personal responsibility. My goodness, if there's an issue that I think faces modern American higher education is we don't put enough emphasis on personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. I mean, too many people are looking too hard for people to blame for things that they don't like. We talk about patriotism here and how important that is. The public exercise of virtue, open and free exercise of faith. I tell every student, whenever I talk to a group of students, do not check your faith, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. Do not check it at the campus gate. You bring that faith onto the campus and let that faith inform who you are intellectually. And again, I don't care what faith it is, but this denial that there is a side of life, a spiritual side, a metaphysical side, something beyond what we can see and observe, that affects how we think. And anybody that says it doesn't is lying. They're just lying. It affects how we think and what we think about. And I want people to bring that onto the campus and talk about it without shame or apology or anything else. Be who you are.
Hey, let me ask you this,
you know,
Dr. Wendler. By the way, give your website, if you would, for the school.
Yes, I will. It's wtamu.edu. You type that into any browser and it's going to come up. It'll come up. And by the way, if you're interested in the Hill Institute and what we're doing here, if you type Hill in the search bar after you get to WT, it'll pop right up.
Okay.
It's there, and there's a lot of stuff on that website.
We're talking to Dr. Walter Wendler. He's president of West Texas A&M University in the Amarillo area. Let me ask you this. There are a lot of kids about to graduate from high school. Dr. Wendler, right now, I mean, we're in March, April, May, and then they'll be graduating, and then they're looking forward to school, to continuing their education at a institute of higher education, as they say, junior college, senior college, whatever the case may be. What are maybe two things that you think as a parent you should help your student look out for in terms of where they're going to go to college? The reason I ask this is, how many horror stories have I heard, and we've all heard, about kids from Christian homes, and they're raised right, and they have come from a good family, a good church, and they get through high school, and then they go off to a college or university, and like within a couple semesters, they're coming home questioning their faith, or ridiculing their parents, or things that you just go, what happened to my kid? You want people to. Yeah, I've always said, you want to be challenged in your faith, and you want to have to live it out in maybe a not so easy environment sometimes. But at the same time, you don't want young impressionable freshmen, sophomores to come home and they're all of a sudden questioning their parents or God or the Bible and that kind of thing. Go ahead, talk about that.
Well, you're right, Tim. You're absolutely right, and I think we're trying to be mindful of that. And that's why we tell people, bring your faith onto the campus. Don't try to hide it. And by the way, unfortunately, in many college classrooms, they get the feeling that their faith life is secondary to their intellectual life. Well, somebody should have told Paul that, or somebody should have told Isaac Newton that. Your faith life is not secondary to any aspect of your intellectual life. Those two things need to be integrated, and I encourage students to hold on to both tightly every chance I get. And by the way, not all the faculty agree with me. I had a couple of years ago, I canceled the drag show on the campus, and I had a no confidence vote taken by the faculty. And I lost. They didn't have any confidence in me. Well, the fact of the matter is I got a pretty good pay raise. I asked them the following year, I said, would you do that again? It worked for me last time I got a pay raise. But the bottom line is I think we need to be honest to who we are. And as parents should try to ferret that out when they look for a school, when they look for a college, a place to study. Is this place going to be respectful of who I am and what I believe? Because nobody anywhere has the right to be disrespectful of personal beliefs. I mean, we have to treat each other with dignity and respect. Matter of fact, I tell people on the campus all the time, and people sometimes, they roll their eyes when I say this, but I want people at WT to live by the golden rule or the law of reciprocity, whatever anybody chooses to call it, but treat other people the way you want to be treated.
Amen.
I mean, this is simple. This is not rocket science, and we don't do it. Right. We have people that treat each other as fools, and I don't like it. And sometimes I deserve it, but I don't like it.
You said you canceled a drag queen show?
Yes, sir. 2 years ago. It's being argued in the Fifth Circuit Court right now. I don't talk about it much because the attorneys told me not to. But,
right. Well, we're not going to tell anybody.
As far as I know.
I mean, on this radio show, everything's confidential. Don't worry about it,
Yeah, I knew that.
I
knew that. But anyway, we did that. Now, I want to tell you one other thing because it's very important to me. When you're looking for a university, ask about the costs of education, the impact of borrowing, what the starting salaries might be in the area that you study in. And make sure you understand how all these pieces fit together, which is another way of saying don't overborrow. And if you go to a college and you talk to somebody on the campus and ask them about those kind of questions, say, well, any college education is worthwhile. Don't worry about the cost. Say to them, you're not being genuine with me. You're being disingenuous. The fact of the matter is the cost of the education and the potential workforce benefits that you get from that education, when it's complete, they're incredibly important. Because if you're saddled with debt, after you graduate, no telling how long it's going to take to pay it off. I read a statistic recently. You guys aren't going to believe this, but that 2 million people that receive Social Security checks have those checks garnished to pay for federally insured student loans.
Wow.
And if you're not looking at each other, kind of furrowing your brow right now, you didn't hear what I just said. People that are drawing Social Security, paying off student loans.
Right.
That's not college. That's not right. Something's broken.
Yeah.
And we need to be honest. And I'm honest to a fault. I mean, I say it how I see it. That's one of the benefits of being an old codger like I am. I'm going to tell people what I really believe because I'm sincere about it. You know.
Yeah. Hey, Ray Pritchard. Ray, you had a question for Dr. Wendler?
I do, and Dr. Wendler, let me say to our listeners, we could use another 1,000 Dr. Wendlers in every college and university of America. I've never actually heard a university president talk the way you're talking today, and it is so refreshing and so hopeful. And so, thank you for being on with us today. Truly,
my pleasure.
This is wonderful. I want to ask you about the Hill Institute because your folks sent along the working draft document of the Hill Institute, and I think you need to tell us a little bit about that. And I'm looking down here. You've got there's sections in here on the values that the Hill Institute is in favor of, and you talk about patriotism and compatriotism and private and civic virtue. You have a chapter in here on hard work and on rugged individualism. That's the one, Doc, that got me the most. Rugged individualism, a noble pursuit. So talk about the Hill Institute, and what do you mean when you talk about rugged individualism? Because it sounds amazing.
Well, it is to me too, and I want to encourage people to stand on their own. I want people to pursue ideas, not ideology. And unfortunately, in American higher education, I saw it on the news last night. I saw it on the news, arresting people, at a campus somewhere on the East Coast, demonstrating pro-Hamas ideas and being very sort of strident about it. The fact of the matter is that's not an idea. That's an ideology. And we need to be talking about ideas. I just think that people that have ideas need to be willing to stand up for them. Freedom and personal responsibility are absolutely essential in the functioning of a Republican form of government. And those two things, freedom and responsibility, we disconnect them all the time. We watch these fools on TV and sometimes on the radio, not you guys, of course, but sometimes on the radio, exercise complete freedom in whatever they say, but they accept no responsibility for the impact of that free expression. And anarchy reigns when that goes on. It doesn't work. It's impossible to have a personal responsibility, and I see ultimately that becoming rugged individualism, which, by the way, in this part of Texas, where we produce singularly of any region in the United States, the most food, fuel, and fiber of any place, it takes rugged individuals to do that. You have to have an entrepreneurial spirit. I say to people, you have to have faith in God. I mean, who else is going to poke a hole in the ground and hope that oil comes out? I mean, you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to get good geologists and all that. But you also have to have faith that what you're doing has some value. The same thing with putting cows out in a pasture or steers out in a pasture. You've got to have a lot of faith to do that, and you have to be willing to take a risk.
Yeah.
Or planting cotton or whatever it is you do. And I think those values, quite frankly, are important in any part of the United States. I'm from New York originally, about 40 miles out on the North Shore of Long Island. And I tell people, if you give me a week on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, I'll find 100 students with parents who can write a check to pay for the whole thing that would want to come to a place like WT. And I'll tell you, it's because we adhere to values, the same values that American Family Radio, by and large, adheres to. And that is things like, you just read the list, right? You just read that list, and those values are important. And to me, the rugged individualism is the most important. Don't be worried about membership in a group. Stand on your own. Exercise your free will. C.S. Lewis said, famously for me, it's one of my favorite C.S. Lewis quotes, and I've got a number of them, but he said, you have never met a mere mortal, because we're all made in God's image, all of us. And when you meet someone, you need to recognize that part of that person is made in the image of God. Sometimes it's hard to find that part. I work with some people sometimes where you've got to really kind of excavate to get it, but it's there. And Lewis was correct. We're made in God's image. And I think we need to proclaim that. I talk about it. I write about it. I say it to faculty and students. And the beauty of this part of the world is, I'm going to say 60 or 70% generally agree with that. They get it. And I'm going to say that in places on the East Coast, like where I'm from, I don't know that happens.
Yeah.
To the same extent, same level.
Sure. Well, Dr. Wendler, we got to run, but thank you so much for your time and your comments, and we appreciate your work there at West Texas A&M University, and we look forward to visiting with you again sometime real soon.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you. Wish we had more like him.
I was going to say, yep. I wish we had more colleges like him, but I'm glad we got him and got there and got
absolutely
West Texas A&M, and it's in where, Dad?
It's in the Amarillo area. I'm not sure out there.
You were serious. The joke was West Texas.
Yeah, well, West Texas. He's not in El Paso. It's not that far west. He's in West Texas. Anyway, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. That's the name of this show. Tim, Wesley, Fred, and Ray. What's your next topic, Fred?
Next topic is what's happening today. Speaking of universities, at Columbia University, students are going to be walking out again today.
What are they walking out for today, Fred?
This is the anti-Israel bunch. They are upset because yesterday or last weekend, ICE, immigration officials, arrested one Mahmoud Khalil. He is from Syria. He has been a student at Columbia, and they have identified him, and we're looking at a picture right now on one of our TV sets here. They've identified him as one of the ringleaders in the pro-Hamas, anti-Israel protests that we have seen, especially at Columbia University, although at other schools as well. Now, yesterday, a federal judge says that ICE had to hold off on deporting him, which is their intention, because he wants to give time for protests against deporting him. There are lawyers who are saying the United States cannot deport this guy. He is not a citizen of the United States. He is a green card holder. Well, Fox interviewed this morning constitutional law expert, and his name is Mr. Belkin, and he is saying it doesn't matter. He can have green cards all he wants, but if he's leading anti-Semitic protests on a U.S. campus, he can be deported. Cut number 3.
I think ultimately the federal government has broad discretion to revoke a green card, and under these circumstances with an individual who might have been actively promoting the interests of Hamas on an American university campus, I think President Trump is in the right.
That was constitutional law expert Ken Belkin.
It's almost kind of like you lose that right when you do that.
Well, I read some about green cards and what you agree to when you accept a green card, which means you're a guest in that country, right?
Yes.
The United States. You're not a citizen yet.
No.
Although many people who get green cards do apply for citizenship. But you cannot. One of the things you agree to, I think I'm right on this, Fred, is you agree not to be a instigator or a social agitator.
You agree that you're not going to break the laws of the land, and promoting anti-Semitism is
Right.
against the laws of the land.
Right. And if you're promoting Hamas, Hamas is an internationally, or at least an American recognized terrorist organization.
Yes.
So
Very simple.
Yes.
Yeah, and so this fella here, I don't know what will happen. A judge is intervening on his behalf right now.
Well, just the judge has said, I want to have a complete hearing, hear the arguments from both sides before any deportation orders are activated.
But what this will do, Ray, this will make these pro-Hamas, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish agitators on college campuses in particular second guess whether they want to get directly involved in this if, in fact, they're not a U.S. citizen.
Look, the green card is given as a
courtesy.
It's a gift. Yeah, thank you. That's the word. It's a courtesy. We're allowing you to come in and stay, even though you are not a citizen. Break the rules and you leave. What's hard about this?
Yeah.
Right.
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 This is not difficult. I'm sure the constitutional lawyer is exactly right. Trump's going to win this one easily in the court.
Well, it's a scandal what's been going on at these universities. Jewish students, when these protests broke out at Columbia and at Harvard, Jewish students were told to stay home. Don't even come on the campus. Can you imagine any other group of students being told, hey, there's going to be protests today. We want you guys to stay away from the campus? This is ridiculous, and that's why the Attorney General's Department, under the leadership, one division there, of Senior Counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Leo Terrell, if you watch Fox, you've seen him through the years, and he says the Justice Department is going after these college protesters, cut number 5.
I am telling those 10 schools, we're going to use every tool in the AG's toolbox to go after you, to make you treat Jewish American students fairly and equally and eliminate anti-Semitism.
And that's the bottom line in this, anti-Semitism. And what he's saying is 10 schools. The Justice Department has identified 10 schools that they are investigating for allowing anti-Semitism to exist.
Yeah.
Dad, I'm reading the story here. Now, does Tom Holman, has he commented on?
Oh yeah,
this?
he's commented on the green card argument,
Yeah.
and he's saying there's no way if they are promoting anti-Semitism, that is against the laws in this country. We're going to deport you. We don't care if you have a green card or not.
Yeah, and you know, for me though, that's obviously, I mean, well, that's the law, and so obviously I support that. But furthermore, to what Dad mentioned would be right above that for me, and that's that if you're supporting a terrorist group and you're advocating for more terrorism, that's enough in and of itself, regardless of who it's towards.
Well, I would take it even further. If you're a citizen of the United States and you're promoting anti-Semitism on a campus, you ought to be thrown off.
You too, yeah. Yep.
You ought to be thrown off the campus.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a short time out right here. Fred, how do you really feel about that, though? I don't know if...
Well, that's going to be recorded, so we can go back and listen if we need to.
I say it without apology.
Okay. Good. All right. So what was your trivia question about the Bible? Who are the two men who walked with God?
Enoch and Noah.
Oh, Ray went.
Let me be Ray for a second.
Ray went to get coffee or something, so he can't even hear what I just asked. It was Enoch and
Noah.
And Noah that walked with God.
Walked with God.
That was the question.
And Enoch was one of the two that was never experienced death either.
He was taken.
He was taken.
We'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
You're aware of how important it is to stay engaged in America's culture war. One way American Family Association helps you to do that is through action alerts. Here's how it works. Once or twice a week, we'll email you about matters critical to America's families, and we'll offer ways to take action. Visit afa.net today and tap the Action Alert sign-up button.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. U.S. foreign policy leaders are sitting down with Ukrainian diplomats in Saudi Arabia to discuss the end of the Russian invasion.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz are meeting with a Ukrainian delegation today. A senior State Department official says the fact that the Ukrainians are willing to sit down signals they are serious about reaching a ceasefire deal. Rubio says the minerals agreement, which fell apart about 2 weeks ago after that Oval Office spat between Presidents Trump and Zelensky, won't be a part of today's conversation.
That's Madeline Rivera reporting. The House of Representatives is planning to hold a vote on a government funding bill ahead of a deadline that could shut down the government. Republican Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry, however, says he believes his colleagues will come together and help prevent a shutdown.
I don't think there's going to be a shutdown. I think we are going to get there. And look, I said like it's a first down, but it's the first time where we actually cutting and freezing spending in my time here. It is the beginning of dismantling this oversized government that is misspending taxpayer monies at exceptional rates.
President Trump is calling for a primary against a fellow Republican.
As House Republicans try to wrangle the votes on a bill to keep the government open past this week's deadline, President Trump says Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie should be primaried for being a hard no, saying he's, quote, just another grandstander who's too much trouble and not worth the fight. Massie in a post on X saying, quote, 3 times I've had a challenger who tried to be more MAGA than me. None busted 25% because my constituents prefer transparency and principles over blind allegiance. The congressman says he opposes the bill over concerns it spends more money on President Biden's priorities than those of House Republicans. Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
A Pennsylvania high school basketball game saw a wild brawl in the bleachers end with arrests this past Friday night. The game between Uniontown and Meadville High Schools got physical, but not with players on the court. Rather, it was parents in the stands, and at least 2 men were seen throwing punches. Family therapist and former high school counselor Tom Kirstings lays the blame on parents for this behavior.
Here's the difference. There's been a societal shift. If I was in the principal's office 30 years ago, I'm terrified because I'm going to have to deal with my parents when I get home. This generation, in many cases, if their kid is in the principal's office, the parent is going to say, well, what did the teacher do to make my son or daughter do A, B, C, or D? So there's this sort of protective nature taking place coupled with just hostility and anger everywhere we look. And as a result, these are the kinds of things that are manifesting.
A civil rights attorney says a new Trump administration task force is committed to eradicating anti-Semitism at American colleges and universities.
A prominent pro-Hamas agitator who helped lead anti-Semitic riots at Columbia University is going to be deported from the United States. Mahmoud Khalil, who graduated from the university in December, was arrested Saturday by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. The Department of Homeland Security says the Palestinian will have his green card revoked as part of President Trump's pledge to get tough on anti-Semitic, anti-Israel agitators. Secretary of State Marco Rubio messaged Sunday on X the administration will be, quote, revoking the visas and or green cards of Hamas supporters in America so they can be deported. Leo Terrell is a civil rights attorney who serves as senior counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights in the Justice Department. During an appearance on the Fox News channel, he said the arrest of this individual should serve as a deterrent.
The Trump administration is not going to allow individuals on a student visa with a green card to commit anti-Semitic behavior on our college campuses. You couple this with the $400 million cancellation, the task force is sending a message. The Trump administration and Pam Bondi will not tolerate anti-Semitism on college campuses.
And Terrell has this warning.
I want everyone out there who has been committing these horrific acts against the Jewish American community, we're going to use every tool to eradicate this. This is going to stop. We have a 10-campus tour where we're going to read these so-called trustees the Riot Act.
Terrell says if these universities don't stop it, Trump's task force will. I'm Chad Groening.
More news online at afn.net and the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildman and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues. That's the name of the show on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. Should you want to send us an email, you're welcome to do so as long as it's positive and encouraging. Okay, it needs to be a K-Love email, positive and encouraging. You can do that at comments@afr.net, comments@afr.net. Ray Pritchard, Ray.
Hey.
You like positive and encouraging emails?
That's the only that's not the only kind I get, but
Okay.
those are the ones that I like. The
Right.
K-Love emails, right?
Yeah, K-Love. K-Love, for those who don't know, is a sister Christian radio network, and they play music.
That's positive and encouraging.
And they build themselves as positive and encouraging. I thought that's a great thing. So we'll just take that and say any emails that we get here.
That's how we want 'em.
American Family
That's
Radio.
how we like them.
Yeah, but the vast majority of folks who write us and email us and
send letters,
call us are encouraging.
That's right. Yep.
To us, we're trying our very best to do what God wants us to do here.
Mm-hmm. I've got a trivia question. I don't want to mess up your train of thought.
Well, I don't have one, but what is your trivia question?
I'm sitting here thinking, how?
Wait, Steve Paisley Jordahl's in the house.
Am I on the right days?
Yeah, you know, you're here, brother.
No.
We welcome you to this show.
He walked in on Trivia Friday.
I don't know. I've always wanted
Well,
to
he just
be
had
on.
a trivia. Wesley has a trivia question out of the blue. What is it?
How did we end up with today's issues? Because that kind of boxes you in. You have to cover today's issues. So
Because it's been that way for 30 years.
Okay,
And
all right.
so it's always been that way, Wesley, and we're not changing it.
Okay.
It's always been this way.
Next
All right.
question.
So
We're
now,
not changing it.
so if we cover anything other than today's issues,
Yeah.
then I need you to comment at where.
All right. Why don't you just tell our listeners what you're about to get ready? Let's change the subject here because this is getting under my skin.
The steroids are kicking
I'm
in.
not able to hide it.
I'm kidding.
I'm
I
not
love
changing the name of the show.
I'm not changing the name. I
Or
love
the
the
music.
name. Or the
It's the way
music.
it's always been. It's the way it always will be.
Dadgummit.
Okay. So turkey hunting opens up when?
Yeah, so for those that live in Mississippi and other surrounding states in the south of Mississippi, turkey season opens up this weekend for adults. It was youth season last weekend. We've also got SEC baseball, and for those that are into travel ball, you got a lot of travel ball games going on this
So
weekend.
spring is good. You like spring.
Spring is
So
good.
what's the most challenging part of turkey hunting?
Well, if they could smell, you would never.
Who could?
If the turkey, well, now that's an obvious one, but
Turkeys
But
can't smell?
turkeys cannot smell. But if they could, a turkey would be impossible to kill because their eyesight is so good. But because they can't smell,
Is that what makes it challenging?
the most challenging thing is their eyesight.
So did you know that turkeys can't smell?
I had no idea. No, they can't smell.
Did you know they got COVID then, I guess?
Bird flu. Yeah.
I had no idea.
No,
Didn't know.
that's a distraction from the point. The point is they can see as good as any animal out
So
there.
they'll see you from a long way away.
A long ways, and
Yeah.
the slightest movement.
Yeah, so that's what makes it a
Makes it
challenge.
challenging. That's
That's why
why
people like turkey hunting is with the challenge of.
and they're maybe from a picture they may just kind of look like I don't know, but up close
You like the taste of them?
yeah
The wild turkeys?
the wild turkeys, but
I'm
they're
not talking about the liquor. I'm talking about the.
that's right. Yeah.
I mean,
the taste of the meat that comes from wild turkey is the best wild game meat that I've ever had, and I probably have had about a
Really?
dozen. I don't even have to. You can put seasoning on it because I do. But you don't have to.
Well, you throw something. You kill you a turkey, put it on the grill, and call me, and I'll come over.
Oh, I will.
Taste it for you.
It's phenomenal.
Okay, all right.
Yep. So that's this weekend for those that.
All right, Steve, speaking of turkeys, there are a lot of them in Washington, D.C.
Boy, are there. And they're kind of making noise, if you will. Did anybody notice yesterday for about an hour and a half or so, around 1 or 2, that X went down? Old Twitter.
I heard about
went
that.
down.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You knew that, Ray, right?
Rumble
Mine
did too.
went down.
Did
Yeah.
they have anything to do
Yeah.
with this, or do we
I don't know.
no connection? Okay.
I have no idea. It might be. It's what's called a distributed denial of service attack. Basically, people who don't want your website to function, or they get millions and millions of bots to make requests at the same time to overwhelm the servers. Yeah. Dry mouth today. I'm having a hard time talking.
Sounds like someone's cheating somewhere.
Well, it's an attack on the network, so I don't know if it's cheating, but they're not real people, but they flood the servers with so many requests that it takes the server down, and that's what happened to Twitter yesterday, and it's only the latest attack on Elon Musk. Donald Trump, our president, put out a truth tweet, whatever, yesterday. To Republicans, conservatives, and all great Americans, Elon Musk is putting it on the line in order to help our nation, and he's doing a fantastic job. But the radical left lunatics, as they often do, are trying to illegally and collusively boycott Tesla. So there's a Tesla boycott among the Hollywood elites.
Okay, you missed a really big point though in the first story on X. Where did the attack come from?
The cyber attack?
Cyber attack on X.
It was for those who, just to reiterate, there was a cyber attack on X being formerly known as Twitter. Yesterday, Ray experienced it because he's on there, and the website went down, so to speak, because of the attack.
My question is, where did the attack come from?
Well, I don't. Does Elon Musk know the answer to that?
Yes.
It's a Blue Sky. It's a Democrat user, a pro-Palestinian hacking group called Dark Storm Team has laid claim to the hacking activists.
Okay, that's more information than I read this morning. Elon Musk said himself that the IP address can be directly traced back to Ukraine.
Well, a pro-Palestinian group, Pucks Arcs, Blue Sky user, they claimed responsibility. So I don't know if that's true. I mean, somebody could claim.
What about Elon Musk's? So the Tesla automobile dealerships,
right?
Some of them have been under attack, right?
Yes, and trucks have been set on fire and a whole bit. Here's the response I love especially. Alyssa Milano, the actress, the Never Trump actress, is indicative of this. She posted yesterday, I gave back my Tesla, instead purchased a Volkswagen electric vehicle. So, Ray, in order to fight fascism, she sells her Tesla and buys a Volkswagen from Germany.
German car company.
That's fighting fascism, by the way. Didn't hurt.
The irony.
Didn't hurt Donald at all.
It's very difficult to be consistent with the boycott, but that's certainly ironic.
He's taking a lot of heat. Musk is for the argument is, well, he wasn't elected to anything. How can he get inside of our databases? And he's not allowed.
Fauci was not elected.
Well, a lot of people are not elected. The president is not going to go into, for example, he has advisors and people he appoints to do stuff for him. He doesn't do the everyday stuff. If the IRS needs to be audited, he doesn't himself go to the IRS. He gets his people to go to the IRS, and not all of them are Senate appointed or confirmed or elected either. So there's nothing unique about what Elon is doing here. But he's sure making a lot of people on the left angry.
Well, there is something unique about what he's tasked to do.
Right.
Office of Government Efficiency, that is, find fraud, waste, and abuse in federal agencies. But it is new that somebody would do that.
Yeah. what I was referring to is his position as being an employee of the assigned person without being elected. Appointed person is not unique. Yes, what he is doing has not happened before. A lot of people have promised it, but not yet.
Go ahead, next story.
All right. There is a lot of anger out there in the world, and we've seen a couple examples of it. I want to take you to a track meet in Virginia where a high school runner, these kids, it was a Class 3 state championship, indoor state championship, and a relay race was going on. You know, they carried the batons. Well, this gal called Alelia Everett was getting bumped and jostled by another fellow runner who was Kayleen Tucker. And Tucker was crowding her a little bit maybe, but when she passed her, Everett took the baton and just whacked her over the head with it. Cut her scalp, gave her a concussion. And so now she is saying that she's having a hard time here. It's sad because I'll find my shot sheet here. You got it. Okay, listen to how she says.
Who are we about to hear?
We're about to hear the girl
victim or the victimizer.
The victimizer, the girl with the baton that hit the other girl. She says, "I know that maybe her feelings are hurt, but I have feelings too. Someone should care about me."
Everybody has feelings, so you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? They're going off of one angle. A couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. I know my intentions, and I would never hit somebody on purpose. They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video.
Okay, so this young lady we just heard from.
Yes.
She was the one, I saw the video, she whacked the other girl on the back of the head with the baton.
Yep.
I'm watching it now.
I mean, it was
as you just described. She whacked
her. She lost, the girl, unfortunately, lost her temper and in a momentary lapse of judgment, that's the best way I can describe it, she whacked her opponent, I've never seen anything like it, on the head with a baton as she was passing her. But now she's trying to claim she's the victim.
That's the story here.
She lost her balance.
This wouldn't be a story otherwise.
She lost her balance. She says she was trying to grab onto the baton, got caught in the other girl's uniform racing.
And this was a day later, but she had time to think about it.
Did you see this, Ray?
I did. It's just...
that is the victimhood mentality that has swept across
She
America
would do better.
the last 20
It took her 4 days to respond. She would have done better just to say, you know what, I lost control of my emotions, and I'm terribly sorry that I whacked the girl on the head, and
it's bad sportsmanship. I'm going to do better.
I'm gonna.
I'll take whatever punishment comes my way.
She'd have done better to do that because.
But she's cried
to try to say,
what about her emotions?
You need sympathy, and you're the one who whacked the girl on the head. I mean, Steve, did you see any way that could have possibly been some kind of a?
It was not. It was most definitely on purpose. She just got angry that she was being passed.
Right.
But that's not the only athletic event I want to talk about, because there was a high school basketball game in Pennsylvania. And I think there was a fight that started. I might have started on the court with a hard foul, but it quickly went up into the stands. Basketball dads, beating each other up. 2 arrests were made, at least, and it was just a.
So WrestleMania broke out at a high school basketball game.
It was awful.
Okay.
And so we're listening.
So we want to highlight it.
Yes, psychotherapist Tom Kirsting has a take on this, and he says our culture is getting a little bit protective and hostile. Cut 4.
And I am currently sitting in the principal's office at a school in New Jersey. We're about to do a lecture. When I was a kid, right, if I was in the principal's office, here's the difference. There's been a societal shift. If I was in the principal's office 30 years ago, I'm terrified because I'm going to have to deal with my parents when I get home. This generation, in many cases, if their kid is in the principal's office, the parent is going to say, well, what did the teacher do to make my son or daughter do A, B, C, or D? So there's this sort of protective nature taking place, coupled with just hostility and anger everywhere we look. And as a result, these are the kinds of things that are manifesting.
Well, listen, when it comes to athletic competition, it's up to the adults, the parents and the coaches to instill sportsmanship into their athletes and respect for rules, even if they feel like they've been wronged or an injustice was committed. You can't just lash out violently at other people or start hitting their opponent over the head with a baton or in other words, we need to restore civility and in some cases maintain civility in athletic competition.
This past weekend when we were playing baseball and I was coaching my son's baseball team, the umpire brought us to the home plate before the game and said that
the coaches or the players or both?
The umpires brought us, one coach and two players, to the home plate before the game and said, hey, went over all the rules and foul balls and some of the things that he thought was needed to be up front. And then he concluded with saying, out of all of this, my number one thing that I want to see today is good sportsmanship. And he said it starts with the coaches and then both good and bad. He said that the fans and the parents respond based on the coaches most of the time. Now, sometimes you have a parent that acts on their own, but they said the parents and players respond to the coaches. So his point was he was emphasizing that the coaches need to lead by example, and I believe that to be true. And in many cases, that also starts before you even get to the fields or before you get to the court. So, yeah, we need to see more of that for sure. We're seeing this quite a bit in the NBA, too. There was also an NBA fight not quite fist fight that broke out, but it was getting close to it with Kevin Durant and another player just yesterday. So, yeah, to your point with these stories, we need better leadership both on and off the court.
Next story, Steve.
All right, Wesley, you hunt, don't you?
I enjoy it.
How many guns do you own?
Oh, do I have to give a number?
Well, no, yeah, ballpark.
I'm kidding. I was joking.
He's loaded. He's ready for.
I got 12.
12.
Got 12 firearms.
There is a law that is being passed in California that will restrict the rights that a person who has a firearm has to defend himself or herself.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris Hansen, Democrat from Denver, is introducing the legislation.
From Denver?
From Denver.
I thought you said California.
I think you meant Colorado.
I'm sorry.
Colorado.
This is Colorado. My mistake.
Okay.
I said,
well, that's Denver. They moved Denver to California.
There's a lot of.
It's one and the same. They're interchangeable.
A lot of places that would actually fit. Anyway, this is encourage. They say it's to encourage responsible gun ownership. But so this bill would eliminate certain circumstances under which homicide is justifiable. In other words, deadly force. One of those is in defense of habitation or property. So when somebody walks into your house, under current law in many states, if they enter your house, you are allowed to defend yourself and shoot them, and they could die. That is a castle doctrine is what it's called.
That's a risk that someone takes from entering someone else's house without permission.
99% of the time, something like that is a burglar or robber or someone coming in to do harm.
Otherwise,
maybe arm themselves.
Otherwise, they ring the doorbell or they call you and say, "I'm out front."
There are certain times when mistakes happen, but that's the vast majority are is someone with ill intent is coming into your home. Well, this bill would say you can't use your gun, and also, it would clarify circumstances in which homicide is not justifiable, including, among others, when a person uses more force than necessary to defend against a danger. Now, that seems to me to be a pretty loose definition of what force is. How do they determine what force is necessary?
It's in Colorado. Is this passed in the legislature? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's an assembly bill. And, please forgive me because I'm confusing two stories here. I got another one. I got one from Colorado. This one is from California. Sorry, and it is a bill that's being passed, considered in the California Assembly. I know I'm being a little bit confusing with these two. let me get to the second one here in a second. But even police sometimes have a hard time determining what level of force to use against somebody. And how is somebody that's just a civilian who doesn't run in conflicts every day, how do they determine what's right? So that's number one in a way to maybe help curb gun ownership. This is the second thing. This one is in Colorado. Please forgive me for the confusion there, but Senator Chris Hansen is introducing a bill that would require firearm carriers to have insurance, liability insurance. They're forcing them. If you own a gun, you have to pay liability insurance just in case your gun shoots somebody.
Now,
as they will. You know, guns get up and
they walk around. Yeah, they have a life of their own, right?
And so, again, this is just putting more bars on gun ownership.
Both of these are blue states and or blue cities?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, California's a lost cause.
Yes.
Colorado's about there.
And I don't just say that lightly, because I do believe I try to hold out to as much hope as possible in all cases. I'm probably the last to say I give up, but California, yeah.
Well, let me just say this. That's a broad general statement I made. There are many parts of California that people live in.
Oh, every part but the cities.
Right.
Yeah.
That are very conservative and also have good values and common sense, and they're law and order people.
Yeah.
Your Central Valley.
A lot of Christians.
Yeah. But as a whole, because of Los Angeles and San Francisco primarily and the large populations there, they dominate state politics.
They keep
which
re-electing
leads to left-wing wackadoodle laws.
And then another one.
And they hate guns. These left-wing wackadoodles hate guns. They hate the Second Amendment. They wish it didn't exist. And now they're rising up in Colorado, which used to be a red state.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened. Ray, you know what happened to Colorado? It used to be a red state. Now it's blue.
Colorado was reliably red for decades. Decades, Tim, right?
Yes.
Always red. Okay, Steve, when did it turn purple, and how does it ended up blue?
Well, it turned purple. There's a gay rights person named Tim Gill who dumped a ton of money into the state and to affect elections. He started, I actually knew people who worked for him. And that was what kind of started the shift. It was, and you remember back in the 80s, I guess, Colorado Springs, Colorado had such a favorable business tax rate that all kinds of nonprofits, Christian nonprofits, ministries started putting their headquarters there. Focus on the Families there.
Right.
The Navigators are there. The Homeschool Defense Fund, the homeschooling people, and just tons of others. And it was the mecca for ministries, really. But
sure.
But the gay lobby came in, and that's what turned it blue, Ray. It was sometime between 2001 and 2010 that it started going purple, and it's just gotten worse.
This would be a great question when we have Jenna Ellis on, because she's talked about this. She's from Colorado.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she's talked about how it shifted from how it was deep red when she was there to now it's embarrassingly blue for her now. But
yeah,
we have her on from time to time, and we want to make note of that. Jenna Ellis would be great.
And let me just say again, I said California's a lost cause. I mean, at least for the foreseeable future, the deep blue politics
That's right.
of California is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the people.
Yeah. I think we knew what you meant, but it's good to clarify.
All right. Thank you, Ray.
You bet. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks to Wesley and Steve and Fred and Brent Creeley, our producer. We hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for listening to American Family Radio. Keep listening throughout the afternoon here on AFR, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for another edition of Today's Issues.
We live in a day when America's families